Alright, so this will just be a quick lecture on landscape collisions. So just like any other actor, a landscape needs to have a collision in order to do things like block other actors or to detect collision events, like hit events and overlap events. The editor will automatically generate a landscape collision for you based on the landscape's terrain, but it gives you some control over how accurate and expensive the collision is. So when a landscape actor is selected, in the details panel, in the collision category, there will be these two properties here, collision MIP level and simple collision MIP level. These properties control the complexity of the landscape's complex collision and simple collision respectively. An actor's simple collision is used when precise accuracy isn't necessary, as simpler collisions are much less expensive performance-wise. An actor's complex collision is used in situations where collision detection needs to be extremely accurate, and should only be used in those situations due to the increased performance cost. And so the MIP level properties give you even finer control by letting you specify just how complex the simple and complex collisions should be. These properties can be set to a value between 0 and 5. A value of 0 makes the collision as accurate as possible at the expense of performance, while a value of 5 makes the collision as cheap as possible at the expense of accuracy. And then if you want to view the collisions, you can go up to the View Mode menu and then select either Player Collision to view the landscape's simple collision or Visibility Collision to view the landscape's complex collision. And the way these view modes work is that they will change the terrain to the shape of the collision instead. So for example, if I set this to player collision, the terrain will now take the shape of the landscape's simple collision. And so now if I change the simple collision MIP level from the most accurate value of 0 to the least accurate value of 5, we will see the change reflected in the viewport, since we are currently viewing the simple collision and not the actual terrain. If I change the view mode back to lit, we can see that the terrain itself hasn't changed, only the landscape's simple collision. Alright, and then there are a few other properties in the collision category as well. There is a collision presets property and a generate overlap events property, just like any actor. And then the next three properties are part of the world composition system, so I won't cover them. Alright, and then finally, you can set the collision MIP levels on individual landscape components, in addition to on the landscape as a whole. So I'm going to go back to Landscape mode, and Manage mode, and then click the Select tool, and then select one of my landscape components. And if I scroll to the landscape component category, we can see that the collision MIP level and simple collision MIP level can be set to a different value on individual components. Alright, and that will conclude the lecture on landscape collisions.